This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Sporting Goods, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plywood, Taylor King Law, Pricing Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone, Certified Public Accountants, Clark County Farm Bureau, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Collection, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Arkadelphia Tire and Outfitters, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Bats and Signs, Sonic of Arkadelphia, Dairy Queen, Pediatrics Plus, Rise Counseling, and Print Mania. The host of Inside Badger Football is Chase Hartzell.
Hello and welcome to the official season opener of this new season of Inside Badger Football with Trey Shucker. I'm Chase Hartzell, and as always, we're joined by Coach Shucker. Coach Shucker, welcome back for year 3.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Now, I say the official season opener because last week we were here. We did tape an episode for the Camden Fairview game, but we had some technical difficulties with that, and that show ended up not hitting the airwaves. So before we get into this week with Hot Springs, and it's a great matchup that we get to break down, let's go back to last week with the Players of the Week against Camden Fairview, a 41-21 victory for the Badgers over the Cardinals.
It was a really good game for us. Good week 1 opener, week 0 opener. Our players of the game was on offense, Donovan Witten, our quarterback, 17-33, 320 yards passing, actually had 3 touchdowns passing, also 2 rushing touchdowns as well. Just a really good season opener for him in our offense. Defense was Kelbert Middleton, plays corner for us, had 2 interceptions and also returned one of those for a touchdown. Just a big play overall to kind of seal that win and that victory. Also had 5 tackles on the night. And then special teams was Brock Curry in his first start at kicker, went 5 for 5 on PATs, had a big onside kick that really swung the game in our favor, and also had a touchback. And then our Badger Spirit Award was Bryson Thrower. Bryson's a senior for us, just a really good role player on our team. He does everything that we ask him to do, gives us a really good look on our scout teams, and is always willing to help us out and prepare us for Fridays.
So a really good win for the Badgers to start out the year, and just about as good of an example of poetic justice as you could ask for the Badgers beating the Cardinals by the same score that they beat the Badgers by at Badger Stadium the year prior.
It really was, and just a really good start to our season. You know, we took pride in our preparation, and not that in years past we have not, but just an extra, the way the game went last year with the cramps and the different things that happened. We wanted to come into this game, and our biggest goal was finish the game the way we started, and I thought we did that. Just a really good effort offensively, defensively, and then in our special teams we made some big plays as well. So just an overall really good team victory for us to start our season.
And now we move on from one 5A South opponent to another in the form of Hot Springs. First off, let's just talk about the environment that Arkadelphia played in, because it's not the usual home field for the Badgers. Going back, having a little bit of a blast from the past, getting to play at Carpenter Haygood Stadium, a place that the Badgers had history with for over 3 decades. And not only that, it's a college environment to get to play in. So for a lot of these players, getting to play not only in a historic stadium, but getting to play in a college stadium, much like the environment many of these young men hope to play in the future. What was that like for the team?
It was awesome. Unbelievable environment. The community came out, packed out the stadium. Just like you said, a blast from the past. 2001 was the last time that the Badgers were in that stadium playing, and it was actually against Hot Springs. And so it was a really, really cool throwback game, and just really excited for our kids to be able to experience that.
And speaking of a throwback, this was a Hot Springs team unlike any we've seen in quite a while. Last year, the Trojans struggled early in the matchup. It was a road game for the Badgers, but they were able to get a sizable advantage early. That was not the case this year. The Trojans came ready. What did you see in the differences between this year's squad and the 2021 Trojan squad?
Just a lot of improvement. Overall, Coach Burnett, their head coach, does a great job with preparing their kids, and it's another year in the program and under his system, under his guidance and leadership, and he's doing a great job building their program. They're a much improved team from last year, and I expect them to keep building on that and have a good season from this point. And there's a really good football team that had good game plans on offense, defense, and they executed them really well. They made things difficult for us, and really made us. We had to make some really good in-game adjustments, and just really good battle overall. It was a really good game.
And you talk about those in-game adjustments. The Badgers were down for much of this contest all the way into the fourth quarter, something that the Badgers have not been accustomed to in quite a while. This was the first time that the Badgers, I believe, had scored less than 30 points since the season opener of 2021, and especially rare for the Badgers to be playing from behind. So what did that comeback tell you about this team, a team who hasn't faced many situations like that in recent memory?
Yeah, and it's been a while since we were in this situation, and I was very impressed with how our kids responded to it. Overall, not something that we're accustomed to, not something that we like being in, but we responded well. We kept fighting through adversity. We did not quit. We just kept grinding away and doing the things that it took to get back and eventually win the game.
Well, instant classic is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I think it's safe to say that this was indeed an instant classic. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the highlights. This was the game against Hot Springs at Carpenter Haygood Stadium.
As you see, just the environment overall, being in Carpenter Haygood Stadium, awesome environment, awesome atmosphere, just a really cool game overall, and really cool to start off the 2022 season in town at the stadium.
And this is a brand new turf too at Henderson State, with the first game happening just the night before in Henderson State season opener. So a new turf. The Badgers also looking forward to a new turf here in the next few weeks.
Yes, it's the year of the new turfs. We played on a new turf in our benefit game at Lake Hamilton, and then this is a brand new turf, and then eventually we'll get on our turf here in a couple weeks. So, but we start off the game on defense, and you see it here early. Hot Springs had a really good game plan going in, was attacking some areas that were weak at, and then just doing a really good job of sustaining drives. They had a lot of really long drives. It's one thing that just going into it, we felt like we could get them off the field on third down, and we did not play well on third down in some situations. But overall, our defense, I thought, did a really good job of being physical and violent and getting to the football, and I thought we did a lot better job of wrapping up and tackling. As you see right here, that's a really good receiver. That's one of their better receivers, and we're able to wrap him up and get him down. It's for a big gain. We don't want that to happen, but overall, we didn't have just a ton of missed tackles.
And some strong runs here for the Trojans early on, but again, as you mentioned, the defense doing a pretty good job of closing up those holes up the middle for the most part early in this contest.
Yes, and they did a really good job of executing their plays. You see it down here on the goal line. Just a well-executed play. We've got to do a better job of controlling the line of scrimmage and making things a little bit more difficult early. That'll help us out on those third down situations.
And we saw the Trojans go to that play a lot down in the red zone, that direct snap akin to the Wildcat that you see a lot of teams issue. But the Trojans had a lot of success early in the matchup with those kinds of plays.
They did. They're big, they're more physical than they've been, and they're really leaning on that. Offensively, our first drive here of the game, we really did a good job of moving the ball. Big play here by Evan Bailey, makes a big time catch, and you see him get excited about it. But just taking what they're giving us, getting up the field, we're moving the ball really well, and this was one of 3 drives in the red zone that we could not score on. Just for whatever reason, there's different reasons. Right here, you see a couple missed opportunities. That's one thing that we take pride on is executing well on first and second down, so making that third down, if you get to that point, an easier situation, and we just were not able to execute and put the ball in the box. Their offense was able to come out with some momentum. They just got us off the field. They get the ball in their yellow zone, what we call it, and see their quarterback making a few really nice plays. He made a big play with his legs to get them out away from the end zone. It's one thing that we were really impressed with Friday was their quarterback's arm. He put the ball in some really good spots, made some really good decisions, was able to make some plays with his legs. And then you see us as well. Our quarterback, Donovan Witten, was able to make some plays with his legs as well. He had 130-something yards, over 130 yards rushing on the night. He's a big physical player as well. We knew going into it that their defensive line was really skilled and talented. They're maybe not as – they're pretty comparable to Camden. There might not be as big as Camden was the week before, but, they they're talented as well, and we knew that we had our hands full on the front line as well.
Well, the Badgers applying some good pressure on that drive and the football going back to Arkadelphia, but really quick too, another group that seemed to really improve from last year was the secondary for the Trojans. They applied a lot of pressure on a good wide receiving core for Arkadelphia.
Yes, sure did, and it's just one of those things where, hey, when you're playing against good teams, you're playing against good athletes, you got to make a play. And we had a few drops in some crucial situations, and when that happens, somebody's got to step up, make a play, and get us out of the situation. And at times we did. Other situations we were not able to do that, and so it made things difficult for us. Hot Springs had a really good game plan defensively. They executed it really well and forced us to do some things that and forced some other players to step up and make plays. One thing that Donovan's really good about doing is escaping the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield, just extending the play, and then he did a really good job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly in some quick some situations where they were bringing pressure and trying to catch us in a blitz. And so right here, we try to take a few shots, trying to stretch it vertically. We're not able to connect on those.
And Hot Springs did have a few big shots in this game, and especially down the stretch, but really early in the contest, it seemed like the Trojans' plan of attack was to go with those smaller passes that still added up for some good yardage.
Yes, and we knew that they were very talented at receiver. They've got 4 receivers that they feel really good about, that are really talented, that can hurt you. And, we knew that going in. And, Friday they really proved how talented they can be at receiver. Thought our defense did a really good job of getting to the ball and wrapping up. And that's just one thing that we take pride on, is being a physical defense that gets to the ball and gang tackles. Would like to see more red jerseys in this situation, more red jerseys getting to the ball. But overall, I thought we tackled well. See Donovan again getting out of the pocket, extending the play, and he finds a running back by himself, able to keep the drive alive, getting those first downs. One thing that we were really talking about Friday was, get those short throws, complete those short throws. Those completions will lead to first downs. Those first downs will end up leading to touchdowns. I see a big run right here by D'Angelo Buckley, very strong runner right here, and he's able to get in the end zone. Just one of those things that we've got to have that. Our offensive line did a really good job getting a push, controlling the line of scrimmage, and D'Angelo does what he can do, made a big play.
And really a big drive for Buckley, a young man who had some opportunities to play last year in the later parts of games, but really stepping into that running back role as a starter this year. It seems like he's getting stronger with each opportunity that he gets out on the field, not only running the ball, but also he had some nice catches on that drive as well.
That's exactly right. He was able to do different things, with his legs, catching the ball, receiving. He's one of those players that just hadn't had a lot of true Friday night experience, and you'll see him as the games progress. He's going to keep getting stronger over the course of the season.
And Hot Springs putting together another strong drive, and they had a few scores in this game, but also the Arkadelphia defense did a really good job at times of bending but not breaking and stopping some drives down near the red zone.
They really did, and one thing that's very impressive is Hot Springs was able to put together some very long drives, 12 to 15 play drives, and which is very hard to do in high school football. A lot of times it seems that if drives are going 12 to 15 plays, there ends up being some penalties or some mishaps, something bad that happens. It's very hard for high school teams to execute for that many plays in a row to keep good things happening, and they were able to do it. They did some really good things on defense, put us in some situations that were difficult. The biggest thing that we knew we had to do was just continue to execute. And the big play right there by Carter Babb on 4th down, extending the ball over the line of scrimmage to get the first, or over the line to get the first down and continue the drive.
So at this point, it is 13-7 Hot Springs after the missed PAT, but Arkadelphia is still right in it. This is really where, again, we start to see those elements of the defensive stalemate come into play.
Yes, and our defense right here at this point in the game is really flying around. We're pouring on the steam, as our defensive coach, Coach Kaiser, our defense coordinator, likes to say, keep pouring it on, pouring it on, pouring it on. And, I thought our defense did a really good job of doing that at this point in the game. Donovan did a great job with his legs. Here you see him getting upfield for the first down. And, just one thing that we did Friday was just felt like every time we had a big play or a big situation, there was something that was pulling it back. And hopefully minimizing that moving forward in the season. But just one of those nights where it just seemed like every good thing that we had ended up being reversed or called back. And you'll have nights like that, and we talk about it all the time. Our kids have got to overcome adversity. We can't worry about necessarily the scoreboard. We can't look at the scoreboard the whole game. We've just got to go play football and play the best football every time we take the field, and just bring some swagger about you. Go make some plays.
So a nice run there from Contreras, and again we see the direct snap. That's the third time Hot Springs went to that play, the third time that it worked. But we'll see here in a few moments, Arkadelphia was finally able to lock down on that as the game went along. That's the last time we really saw the score from the direct snap that way.
Yes, and our defense did a really good job of making adjustments and understanding what we had to do to combat that. And, another big run by D'Angelo. You see him catching the ball right here, getting upfield, puts a move, and gets a first down. And, he's going to be one of those players that's going to continue to get better and better as the season gets going, the more experience that he has. And, right here, I think this is the second time we're in the red zone that we didn't score. Sophomore making a play. He's one of those guys that anytime the ball's in his hands, anything good can happen. And right there, he's just trying to fight for extra yards. And Hot Springs does a really good job of trying to get the ball out. They end up getting it out and kept us from getting a touchdown. Just we were in the red zone 3 times Friday night, and we're not able to come up with a score. And so we've got to play better in the red zone if we want to feel better about the situation of the game.
So we're now into the fourth quarter, Arkadelphia trailing 20-7, and this was a huge turning point early in the quarter.
This was. We'd kind of done some things to kind of set it up leading up to this point, and we found a good situation to called the play, and we're able to execute it perfectly. Carter Babb right there with the big completion for the touchdown really got us some momentum, and some momentum that we needed at this point of the game. Really gave our defense the momentum taking the field, and they were able to get it back to us really quick. Just a crazy play overall, just to be honest, in that situation. But, I talk about it all the time. Sometimes players just need to make a play, and that's all you can really say about this play. Trip Campbell, a senior on our team, wide receiver, able to just make the catch and then get upfield. And, hey, just the situation involved there was, they had a couple players fall down, but we were able to take advantage of it and get us a touchdown.
So for the first time on the night, Arkadelphia leads 21-20, but the Trojans want to respond.
And this is a big situation, and for them, big-time catch. We knew that we had to stay over the top of their routes, that if they were to get by us, that they could really make us hurt. Those receivers were going to catch the ball down the field, and they really did. They proved that they could. And then defense right here, 4th down stop, really big play for us. We were unable to get anything going on that next drive. I think we had some penalties that kind of pulled us back. We had a couple big plays that would have given us a first down, and just we had to punt it back to them. And then Marvion Berry, another senior for us, senior outside linebacker, big play, getting the interception, understanding what his pass responsibility was. And then here we are, put our offense in the red zone again. We're able to come up with any points. We go for the field goal there. We felt good about the field goal. Our kicker's got the leg for that. That's a situation that we feel good about him in, and still feel good at even after that. Just did not get the ball on the tee very well, and just did not able to come out with any points. And then our defense was able to take the field. Hot Springs made some big plays, and made the plays that they needed to make to keep the lead for most of the game and to make it a tough game for us.
So after the touchdown and successful 2-point conversion, it's now 28-21 Trojans. And you don't see it here, but there's less than 2 minutes to go in the game. We're really having to run the 2-minute offense here.
It is, and this is something that we do every week. We practice our 2-minute offense. We talk about all the situations of what stops the clock, what we need to do in different situations, clocking the football. So we always have a situation every week that we practice. So this is nothing new for our guys. It's not anything that they would freak out about. They just say, hey, it's 2-minute offense, we're fine. And you see it, our kids were able to execute the 2-minute offense really, really well, understand the whole situation, what stops the clock, what to do in different situations, and very, very pleased with how our guys responded to this. They were able to keep their composure, and you see it. There were a lot of completions, a lot of getting out of bounds, getting upfield, getting the first downs, and getting lined up quick, and ultimately led to this last play for a touchdown. Big play by Latonio Hughes. Latonio Hughes wasn't able to get a lot of touches on the night, but you saw it right there in a big situation which ended up we wanted to go for 2. We knew that we wanted to put it away on that last 2-point conversion. We went for it. Big execution play right here by Carter Babb and Donovan Witten and the rest of the offense. Not necessarily the fashion that we like to win by, but if we're in that situation, we prove that we can execute and come out on top.
And I know that situation is probably a headache as a coach, but it sure did make it a whole lot of fun for us up in the booth and for the fans.
It really was. It was a really good game, a really awesome game for our kids to go through and to overcome adversity. We played from behind the whole game. Like I said, it's not the type of game that we like or hope for, but when you play good teams, that's always a potential, right? But we were able to execute the plays that we needed to make to come back and execute the final play right there on the 2-point conversion to win it. So very proud of our team overall, the way that we fought the whole game. Very proud of our kids for executing the plays that we needed to make to win the game. So very proud overall.
Now again, the final score in that one, 29-28 in favor of the Badgers with the walk-off 2-point conversion. Not only a statement-making win for the Badgers here with the comeback, but I know you don't hear this term very often, but I think this was a statement-making loss for the Trojans in the way that they played all the way throughout the game, proving that this is not like the Trojans teams that we've seen in recent years, and there have been some solid Trojans teams to come out of Hot Springs.
I agree 100%. They're a much improved team from years past. I think this is the best Hot Springs team that I've seen up to this point, and I expect them to bounce back. That they're off this week, but I expect them to bounce back and be a really good contender in their conference.
2 teams on a trajectory towards the playoffs, so it'll be fun to see how the 2 teams go about things. But any closing thoughts on this game, Coach?
Just overall, very, very proud of our team, very proud of our fans for staying with us and providing a really big environment for our program, and just a big overall program win. Moving on to 2-0 puts us in a good situation to move forward into this week and hopefully go 3-0.
Well, with a game like this, with so many positive moments, especially towards the end of the game, got to recognize those in some way. And we're going to do that right now with the Badger Players of the Week.
So our Offensive Player of the Week is senior wide receiver Carter Babb. 5 receptions, 83 yards, a touchdown in a big situation, and then he is also the one that came up with a 2-point conversion catch to win the game. And also he had a couple really big 4th down catches throughout the game that really needed in situations to keep drives alive. Our Defensive Player of the week was junior DB Nick Williams, plays safety for us. He had 15 tackles on the night. Just a big night for him. He was one of the ones that was able to get on the field last year, and he's much improved from last year. You see him having the knowledge and the swag about him. 15 tackles on the night. He's all over the field. That's big time. And then Special Teams Player of the Week was sophomore Jaquavis Purifoy. Had a couple really nice returns. It might not show up on the stat sheet because they were called back, but had some really nice returns. Also, when he wasn't returning, had some big blocks. And so he's big. He's a big special teams player for us, dangerous returner for us. And then our Badger Spirit Award is Henry Ivy. Henry Ivy is a 7th grade football player for us. He helps us out on Friday nights. Friday night was kind of one of those things where it was all hands on deck, and he was one of those guys that helped us out with our water. The game overall was over 200 plays, and so water was a big key Friday night, keeping our guys hydrated and staying hydrated so we didn't cramp. And he did a really good job helping us out with that. Every time we had a timeout or needed water, he's there helping us out, getting our guys water bottles. So he's our Badger Spirit Award this week.
Well, congratulations to all this week's winners. A lot of positive performances on and off the field across the board for Arkadelphia, as you mentioned just a moment ago. Before we go into next week's matchup, we're going to look at the matchups from around the conference this past week. First off, you see the score that we just broke down, 29-28 Arkadelphia. And right below it, you see a score that really sticks out. Very rarely do you see a team put up 74 points in a game, but that's what Nashville did against another 5A South opponent in the form of Hope.
Yes, and Nashville, as you can see, is a much improved team from last year and last season. 74 points is a lot of points to score in a high school football game. Just the time seems to not allow that, but you see Nashville putting that up, and then Hope scoring as much as they did as well shows that it could have been a really, really good game had Nashville not scored as many and been able to execute. And then, as you go through the other games of the conference, Ashdown 45-0 taking care of business against D Queen, and then Mena with a tough loss right there to Center Point, but it's a close game. And Waldron and Lamar, same thing. It's a close game. It's just a one-score game, both of those two. And then Malvern over Glen Rose in comfortable fashion. And, Malvern and Ashdown, probably the two right there that you'd see. And much expected, taking care of business as the way they should.
And this is really the point in the season where you start to see a lot of interesting matchups to build you up in later into the season. Not only, for the Badgers 5A opponents, we saw another couple of opponents in the 5A South for other opponents for other members of the 7-4A, and add on top of that a couple of really good 3A teams and a good 4A team in the form of Lamar.
Yes, and it just shows you that our conference is very, very competitive, and across the whole 4A in general is very competitive. It's one of those years where you see a lot of teams playing really, really good football, and you see some teams winning some tough games, and there's some upsets here and there, and that's just football season in general. It's what you love about it and what we work so hard for. But we're getting into our third non-conference game. Teams are going to start finalizing their non-conference season, and then getting into their normal conference season and really getting after it.
Well, now we're going to take a look at the breakdown for this next week's matchup. You mentioned the third game for a lot of these teams. Actually, we're going to take a look at the standings first. 3 undefeateds left in the conference already.
Yep.
2-0 for Arkadelphia, Ashdown, and Malvern, but right behind them, Mena, Nashville, and Waldron. Everybody's won at least one game through 2 games.
Yes, everybody's won up to this point. And, it's going to be an exciting season. It's one of those things where you got to come prepared once we get into conference. You got to play well. Anybody can win on any Friday night.
Now we'll take a look at the matchups for this coming week in the 4A7. First off, you look at Ashdown at Hope. We saw Hope last week in the shootout with Nashville. It'll be interesting to see how the Panthers fare against the Bobcats in that one.
Yeah, it will. And, Ashdown's taking care of business up to this point, but again, they've got to do it every Friday night. And so anything can happen.
And again, we talk about the relationship between the 5A South and the 4A7. We'll see it a couple more times. Again, we see it here with Lakeside at Malvern. Lakeside on a nice streak of playoff appearances, looking to perhaps go even further in the playoffs than they had in recent years. A fairly young squad, some upperclassmen that have not gotten as much playing experience, but really getting some good experience here against the Malvern team that's really looking to make a statement in 2022.
Yes, Malvern this is what they are hoping to be their statement year in Lakeside, and Malvern, it's a tradition. It's a big game for both of them, being so close. I expect a really good game out of both of them.
And then the next matchup we'll look at is Lincoln at Mena. Coach, what can we expect from that one?
I would expect, Mena trying to bounce back from this past week's game. I think this would be a really good game for them to do that.
Well, the Panthers are fresh off of a victory against the Leopards last week, and now the Leopards traveling to Nashville for a matchup with the Scrappers. What can we expect to see from that one after Nashville put up 74 points against another 5A South opponent last week?
Yeah, I would expect Nashville to try to keep that momentum from putting up 70 points last week. I'd expect them to feel good and confident going into this game and trying to keep that momentum, and D Queen trying to bounce back from their game last week.
And Waldron, a team that's looking to improve this year. They had a good win to start out the year, a heartbreaker last week to Lamar. What can we expect to see with them against Falk?
I'd expect another game to try to bounce back from and try to get some momentum going into the bye weeks and the conference play. This would be a good week for Waldron to shore some things up and to potentially get a win.
And that brings us to the final matchup on the list, and we're going to break that down right now. Texarkana at Arkadelphia. For Texarkana, it's been an interesting start to the year. The Razorbacks, they found themselves on the wrong end of a blowout in the first week, but then the following week found themselves on the right side of a blowout. So what can we really expect from this Texarkana program, who's had some ups and downs, it's fair to say, in recent years?
They are, and they've got a new coach over there in Trey Outlaw, and he's been able to hire a new staff pretty much. And so the first game I'd say is kind of deceptive in the fact of it's their first game, their first outing as a new team, as a new staff, and so they're still trying to shore some things up. And then the second game, they were able to put it together and got a win. So they're looking to come here and build off of that win and do some good things and make it a competitive game. They're very talented. They're young. They've got quite a bit of sophomores on the field for them, but they are very, very talented, and I expect them to show up with some energy and to play a good football game.
And looking at this week's matchup, again, Badger Stadium not quite ready yet for that official home opener for the Badgers. It will be a home game for Arkadelphia, but again, at the home away from home at Carpenter Haygood Stadium. How would you say that matchups like these, again, they're sort of like home games, but they also resemble neutral site games? How does that prepare you for games later in the season, especially when you're talking about the postseason and hoping to have the ultimate neutral site game in Little Rock?
Yeah, no doubt. And what I tell our guys is it's still our home crowd, and that's why it's so important for our home crowd to be there Friday night to make it a home environment for us. Yes, it's not our stadium. We're ready to be in our stadium and on our own field, but that's why it's so important to be at the game, to be there to support us, and to make it a home environment. And that's what I tell our guys and our staff is it's still a home game for us. Yes, we're not in our stadium, but our home crowd's going to be there. Our band's going to be there. Our cheerleaders are going to be there. Everybody's going to be there for us. It's our community there cheering us on, and so it's our home field for right now. And then it's a cool experience. It's something that will probably not ever happen again. It's probably not ever thought of that it would happen again at this point. Since 2001, but so it's a cool experience in the fact of could be the last time that we ever play in that stadium.
And a really cool experience that we thought we'd only get to have once, now we get to have it again this week, although it's going to be hard to measure up to the instant classic that we saw a week ago. We're going to try though, and I know that the Badger faithful will be out there to support the team, and if you can't make it to that game, we highly encourage you to make the trip out to Carpenter Haygood Stadium, but if you can't, you can catch that game on ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com at 7 p.m. on Friday night. Pre-game coverage will start around 6:30. That's going to wrap it up for this week's show. Again, Coach, thank you for joining us, and as always, go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Austin Wingfield State Farm, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Sporting Goods, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Taylor King Law, Pricing Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone, Certified Public Accountants, Clark County Farm Bureau, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Collection, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Arkadelphia Tire and Outfitters, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Bats and Signs, Sonic of Arkadelphia, Dairy Queen, Pediatrics Plus, Rise Counseling, and Print Mania. Inside Badger Football is produced weekly by the Ouachita Baptist University, Rogers Department of Communications, and the Ouachita Sports Digital Network.